All right, we're live. Episode 7. Today we have Donny. I'm not even going to pronounce your last name because with my Russian accent and the two L's, I'm not even sure where it goes. But Donny is a black belt from Chicago. I actually met him a few years ago. It's an interesting story because a friend from work, for years I've been telling him to start jiu-jitsu. And when he finally started, he lived in Elgin, and there wasn't a gym near him, and so I think he found LCCT, which is a known place out in Schaumburg. And the way he came upon that place was the main guy from there, Luis Claudio, started like a sister gym in another location near Elgin, and so he started going there. And it was literally like Ricky, Lewis, and a couple of other guys there. And then like one time I was in town, and he's like, "Why don't you show up to this new gym I started?" And I showed up, and I met Luis Claudio over there. But then a couple of months later, he closed, and then Ricky started looking for another gym, and I think he found you. And
Right.
he again basically said, "Why don't you come out and try out this new place I found in Elgin?" And I came out, and that's how we met. And it was basically Samurai Spirit out at that one sports plaza place.
Yeah.
And many things have happened since then, and so maybe I
Yeah.
I I,
A
I let
lot
you
of
talk
ups
about
and
all.
downs.
Yeah, I let you talk about all that. But essentially, you come from a Hicks and Gracie lineage, and you've been a black belt for a while. And after we met, we actually realized that you've been to my gym in Florida. Whenever
Yeah.
you competed out here, I think at Pans or Worlds or won some
I
tournament when you were a
competed.
brown
Well,
belt.
yeah, I did a fight to win for a title, and I happened to be in your area, the Tampa area, and I found you guys. They were like, I don't know, 30 minutes from the hotel I was staying, and I was out
Yep,
there for a wedding. So, um, it was a destination wedding that we had planned out for like over a year, and I was in camp, so I only had a few weeks. So I was like, I gotta train. And I like traveling and bringing my gi everywhere in the world to train. I think it's awesome for anybody and everybody to. If you do jujitsu, you should try doing that and make friends. And I ended up at your place with your instructor.
yep,
Um, Very interesting. Super tall guy, and his lineage links back to the original Gracie Baja in Baja, Brazil.
yep.
So, which was impressive because I think his instructor was a former fighter as well in MMA or something.
Yeah, he got his black belt from Marcio Cruz, Parapano, who's
Yes.
also out in Tampa. But then that
What's
goes
his
back
nickname? Like
to
Bigfoot or something in Portuguese?
Parapano. I'm not sure actually what it stands for.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
He's a big dude. He's even
yeah.
bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw pictures of them. They're both big, but he's even bigger than your instructor, which was cool. And they showed a lot of love. It was really fun, very traditional. And so I went back there. And it was funny because I went to Hobson Mora first, which was a little further away, and that was good. It was great there too. And then when I was with you guys, Supreme, um,
Supremacy.
Supremacy, right?
Yep.
Supremacy is called. And I went back because I liked how they, it just felt like a good, friendly family vibe, like a lot of brotherhood. And the second time I went, we went out to eat, we hung out at like a Chipotle and all that. So it was good. I felt good that I got to train while I was, away from home. It was great. And it's funny how you come from that gym and then you started training. We didn't even know that for
No, we didn't know. It was just
weeks.
like random, totally random.
Yeah, then I saw the logo and it just rang a bell, and I was like, okay. And yeah, we happen to like go to each other's gyms, not even know it.
Yeah, I know it's crazy, but you ran that place pretty well actually. I liked it was all white belts obviously, because it was a new
Right.
place. I
Everything
think
was
when I was
brand
there,
new.
there was maybe another blue belt or a couple of other blue belts.
Yeah, I did promote a few guys to blue belt from when we started. We started in 2019. So
mm,
they got pretty good after like, obviously COVID hit in
yeah,
2020. It kind of slowed everything down, and we stayed relentless and we stayed training, even with the doors closed, whatever you want to call it, illegally. Then we did illegally, but we're here, and we did a good job with that, like sticking to it. And when they lifted the ban on training and all that, and let everybody go back to the gym and work out,
yeah.
we pushed on the gas pedal right after. When we came back, everybody started training again. 2020 was the year I got my black belt
hmm
from
So you
LCCT.
You started as a brown belt. You opened it
I
up as a
started
brown
teaching
belt.
as a brown belt, correct? Yes, yes. And then I ended up getting the black belt late in 2020. And then we just kept pushing into 2021. I came back to compete again for the first time in like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had a really gnarly arm injury where I destroyed my arm at that fight to win match when I came back from Florida. I got
Mm-hmm.
my arm snapped pretty bad where I have titanium. That
How
was the
did that
last time I
happen?
had competed. It was a bicep slicer,
Okay. Did you
and
not
I was
tap in
able
time, or is it just kind of like randomly happened?
kind of both. Obviously, I didn't tap at all,
Uh
but
huh.
I took my bicep out of the slicer and it
Mm.
went down to my forearm, close to my wrist, and it was trapped there because it's gi. And the guy just pushed his shin and snapped my arm like a freaking twig. And I just kept fighting. I didn't even know my arm was broken. And then when I went to
Oh
try to
shit.
grab him, my arm just freaking it was like a wet noodle. So then I
Wow.
just used the other hand. Well, I got two hands. I just kept. I didn't feel a thing. I don't know the adrenaline or what. And I just kept fighting, realizing like, well, I can try to choke him with my left hand or something or my legs. I didn't know what I was thinking.
That's crazy,
Yeah,
dude.
eventually I realized, yeah, I'm not getting far. I was like losing the position battle, and it was funny. He went for the bad arm, and I'm like laughing at him, like, oh, it's already broken, and then he just kind of twisted. I'm like kind of laughing at him, and then he went to the good arm. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna wipe my butt. So I started
Yeah. You
tapping
need
right
one
away. I'm
arm at
like,
least.
yeah, it's easy one hand, right? So yeah, so I had to tap out eventually, and that was a really really hard time in my life, and as far as competing in jiu-jitsu and just loving, like I'm a type of person that I just like love being on the mat training almost every day. If I can, I would every
Mm-hmm.
day. And when all that's gone and taken from you, it does play a really bad mental game, a depression that I would say, is a tragedy. So it did something to me. It hurt me, and I had to like get myself out of that once I healed up and got better. Did the physical therapy, and then I was able to, put the gi back on and get back in training. Even though I wasn't 100%, it took a while. So I was out for
Mm-hmm.
like 2 years. The second
Damn.
year was because of COVID. So, but I used that second year to really get in shape, to really get my body back in tip top shape. And I came back after the second year. I don't know, I might have hit like a midlife crisis or something, and I just kind of went nuts in the gym and dieting, where I got in really good shape, and I came back to compete, which in 2021, which was great. When everything opened back up, I jumped out there the first tournament, and I did Chicago Open, and it was great because I won gold medals too, so I was able to come back. And later that year, I did another fight to win at black belt to redeem that, because I got hurt on stage, and I couldn't live with the fact that that was the end of me, like that was going to be my
Mm.
last match on Fight to Win, which is something I
Mm-hmm.
loved, Fight to Win.
Yeah, you just won
And
one too.
yeah, they brought it back since. They haven't been back, which is incredible. And then they brought one back, so I was like, I got to do this. And the same thing, even in that Fight to Win, um, it was hard to find an opponent. They're really having a hard time finding a venue. And then when they got the venue, they kind of rushed it. They didn't have, usually they give you a month out knowing your opponent. We had like 2 weeks.
Oh
And then a
wow.
week went by and they still couldn't find an opponent. A lot of guys wouldn't take my fight. Um, and it was hard. Some guys are way smaller. I'm walking around about 165, and the other guy was walking around maybe 130, 140. So I
Oh
know
wow. It's a
I
big
was too big
difference.
for him. Yeah, I was too big for him, so I knew that wasn't going to be a good matchup. So he canceled the decline, and a couple other guys declined. He finally got me someone that worked for Fight to Win. Put his name, Sean Joseph. He's an awesome guy. I'm glad he
That's
did
the one
that for
just
me.
now. The one you
Yeah,
just did like a month ago.
yeah, that's the one I fought. So he took the
Yeah,
fight
yeah.
last second for me, and I find the news who I'm fighting the Wednesday, and Fight to Win was on Friday.
Yeah.
So only a few day notice, and a few hours before I got offered that fight, I get the phone call that my father had passed away. He was on hospice.
Wow,
So that
yeah.
was something that I've been dealing with. I know a few people out there know, maybe some people don't, but it's not easy to keep those things in, obviously. And I dealt with my father passing away, and so crazy thing was something told me in those last weeks because my father's illness got really bad. He had Parkinson's and dementia. So he was on hospice, and he wasn't eating, he was sleeping often, and like we knew it was not looking good, and his end was near, and it was to the point where like I had a feeling that I was gonna have to compete without my father, knowing that he
Mm.
was gonna pass away, and I'm gonna have to go on and compete and fight regardless, you know. And I got the news, you know, I rushed to see him real quick because he was at like a retirement home. His body was still warm. I got there within the hour. I was gonna go there anyways, and he passed away before I got there. And a couple hours later, they sent me the fight, and I was just like, I gotta do this. Something told me you got to go through with it. It's part of destiny, you know. And um, I did. I went with it, and it was crazy because I didn't compete or put the or even train or put the gi on since that Wednesday or Thursday. Not like I wasn't gonna do anything crazy, but usually I roll like a day out, like 2 days out. I'll do a little bit of like smooth, like soft flow rolling, just going over my grips and hooks, and you know, just moving around with a couple partners. It's gonna go easy, not to get
Hmm.
sore or nothing. And I didn't even get to do that. I just didn't even put the gi on, didn't train. I had all this stuff with the family. And Friday came. I was super nervous because you know everything I went through, and but I was so ready because I had trained so much to get back to competing again. I took over a year off. I had a couple injuries earlier this year, and so it was great. I went out there and I felt great once I got on stage. All the nervousness went away, and I felt back at home. And it's crazy how like something like fighting or combative sports some ways brings peace to me. And I felt peaceful in there. I was laughing in there. I was smiling. I had a good time competing.
Yeah, you couldn't
And
even
they're getting,
tell because I watched the
yeah,
match and you couldn't even tell like anything was going on. And then like next day you posted that your father has passed basically the same day, like
yeah.
a day before.
Why I posted it the day, I think I did post it the day of and he passed. And then I just went through with it. But then, you know, I didn't even get to bury him yet, or the funeral or the wake didn't come yet. We
Yeah,
still had to wait another week for that. But yeah, I got in there and I knew by taking over a year off, I get ring rust a lot of times, like, you know, but not that day. For whatever reason, I felt good. I felt hot, like on fire, you know, and I could have kept going. I could have fought more opponents. I felt great. And it just everything was lined up. I guess the stars were in line or whatever, and you know I felt good that I got that win, and like a big weight of like pressure gets lifted off my shoulders after that fight. After I got off the stage,
yeah,
and I never felt so much better knowing the fact that what I was dealing with and able to perform still. And it was something about that. I can't put my finger on it. All of this is still kind of new. It's
yeah.
kind of cool, but I was able to win, and a lot of people were impressed that took the fight
Oh, you
on
dominated
short
that fight. I
notice.
mean, I watched the fight and he basically had like no chance of even getting up. You were literally like on him the whole fight.
Yeah, I really wanted the sub, but that's not the way I go at it and fight everybody. I always want the submission, but everybody's good, so people are not just gonna let
Yeah,
you submit them. But it felt great to do that, and you know, and then my coach, um, my new coach that I'm with now, Mark Vivas, because I've been at New Breed Training Center, and he was there cornering me, and he was like, "Ring rust." He goes, "I didn't see any ring rust." You know, and that was what I was wanting to do is get the ring rust off and compete. And then he was like, he likes to compare everything to football.
yeah,
He's a big football fanatic. I love football too and basketball and stuff, but he's really big on football. So like, we use a lot of like metaphors for football. And he was like, what did he say? He said, "You pulled a Brett Favre."
that's
So
funny.
Brett Favre had his best game of his career the day after his dad passed away.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
So I didn't really realize that till after he said that, and I was like, yeah, Brett Favre did do that, and he just went amazingly nuts in this game. It was his best performance, and I guess it was something about that. When things in life go crazy and things are very off balance, sometimes we become
Better.
even better.
Yeah, I
If that
agree.
makes any sense.
Oh, I agree. I think jiu-jitsu is another one of those kind of weird spaces that everybody shows. First of all, everybody that shows up to jiu-jitsu to begin with already has some kind of a problem they're dealing with. Because again, it's like,
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
a joke at our gym. Anytime somebody comes in to sign up and they're like 40, we're like, all right, what's wrong with you? Like, are you going through a divorce? Like, you lost your job? Is it a midlife crisis? There's
Yeah.
got to be like something that essentially forces you at
Yeah.
40 to like walk into a gym and start a new endeavor that like you've never done
Yeah.
before. And then as you kind of come in, like first of all, you're surrounded by your friends that you roll with all the time, and it's very intimate because you're essentially vulnerable in being choked out or submitted all the time. And
Right.
so you have all these people who are like professionals in their own space coming in and then just kind of being put in vulnerable positions by people from across all walks of life. And it's just an interesting place to be because, again, it's like you could be a business person being submitted by a guy that like sweeps the street, and it's very humbling
Yeah.
in some way.
Yeah.
And so you ultimately leave it all on the mat because it's very difficult to focus on anything other than what you're doing at that moment at that time. And I think that's why people are attracted to these types of high level sports.
For sure. For sure. I tell like students and training partners, like, what is the most intense part of your day? Would have to be when you're rolling,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Like, and that's the most intense part. Especially like, okay, for instance, I'm a barber. That's my trade. That's what I do during the day. It's not too intense. We're chilling. We're talking. Yeah, we stand all day. We're cutting hair. It's just conversations. Um, when you're in the trenches and you're getting someone that's outweighs you by 40, 60 pounds, sweating on you, have you in this weird headlock position or just pinning you down, and you have to figure out how to get out
Yeah.
safely without getting submitted and things like that. And um, yeah, it's something about that. It's something about like the intensity and learning how to stay calm under those vulnerable positions. Like you're saying, you're vulnerable, and like letting that guard down and putting the gi on, and doesn't matter what you do. I've trained with people from all walks of life. People that are like owners of like Fortune 500 companies that make 7, 8 figures, and
UFC
like you
fighters.
said,
I
people,
mean, you have a piece of that
UFC
too.
fighters, yes, people that have like drive Uber for a job, barely making ends meet, and like when you put the gi on, doesn't matter what we do outside of these doors, is what we're doing inside the mats. When we're training one another, those are the things that matter. Because now it doesn't matter about social status and how much you make and your position at your job. If you're the boss, if you're the owner, if you're not, it doesn't matter. Things change real quick when you put the gi and the belt on, and it's just a whole other world. And I think with that, it becomes a safe place for everybody because people
Yeah.
come back, they congregate, iron sharpens iron, etc. You never really see people getting into like something nasty in the mats or in the gym where they break out into a fist fight or
Rare,
what I mean?
very
Like there's no
rarely, almost
very
never.
rarely, and if it does happen, most likely people can kind of put the fire out and you can kind of shake hands and make peace
Yeah.
because it's confrontational. We're all close, and then we get past it, and then you move forward. It's very rare that those things happen. And I think that's what I think fighting does is when you confront somebody, you get there into the position of kill or be killed. You're going to get tapped, you break your arm, or you get choked, you get put to sleep. It teaches us humility in different
Absolutely.
ways,
And I
and
think people who can't get along with that type of thinking, they just don't stay in the sport.
no, right, correct. Their ego won't let them. Whatever the
Correct.
case is, yeah,
Yeah,
they'll
it's hard. You almost have to think of it in terms of reputation instead of status, because status is a short term game and reputation is a long term game,
right,
and and
right.
so certain people just fall off it
And
because they
it's
can't deal with it.
that whole motto of like how many like doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get up. That really ignites in jiu-jitsu because you're gonna get tapped.
Yeah.
There's no one that just gets on the mat from white belt and gets a black belt for all these years, for over 10 years, and never been tapped. It's just maybe Hickson's probably the only guy in history, and I'm sure he's been tapped by his
I'm
brothers
sure
and
he's
stuff
been
like
tapped.
that. Right. So, with that being said, usually uh, the black belt's been tapped more than the white belt. Way more. So then it makes sense, to see that they were able to be vulnerable and be tapped so many times and learn from those mistakes and be able to achieve, the level of black belt or, and like white belts can learn from that or lower belts can always learn from that from the guys that have been there and put in that time and work and see that they've been there. They've been, you know, the nail, not the hammer. And then now it's their turn to be the hammer because they put in their dues.
Yeah.
It's just what it is, There's
And
no
so,
way around it.
yeah, and
You
sometimes when
know?
you think you're the hammer, a bigger hammer comes in and you're the nail again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or sometimes you got those guys that are like nails, but like you try to hit the nail in the wood and they don't go in the wood, they just bend sideways.
They move. I know they do
It's
weird
like
shit.
I had the nail, but he didn't really go the way I wanted him to. It's different ways of it, right?
Right.
But no, it's a beautiful game for
And
sure.
so to parlay that into kind of the next question is, I know you've competed a bunch of times, but you also teach. How does that sort of relate to the teaching side?
I think my experiences, getting out there, um, leading by example. So like being a general on the front lines of like, you fight this battle, this war, and you're a general on the front lines, and people are watching you cut heads off. They're gonna have more faith and belief in you. And also, you can kind of like share your experiences, what to do, what not to do, right? Like for instance, when I got my arm broken, definitely I'm gonna learn how to fight grips and not let someone wrap my arm up into a bicep slicer.
Hmm.
I should have learned that lesson a long time ago once I break the arm.
Was that from the
So
lasso, or how'd you
it
get
was
in there?
started, yeah, yeah, it went through lasso and then he went to the arm slicer. So like addressing the lasso, right? Breaking grips is very key, when you train in the gi. This is probably why a lot of guys don't like to train in the gi. A lot of guys want to do no gi because it's a whole other curriculum when you have the lapel and the sleeves and they're using that against you. So addressing that, breaking those grips and all that, obviously that's like something I'm teaching to everybody. Like if I'm rolling with you and you let me just dictate and maneuver you with the spider guard and lasso and I'm tossing you around and controlling you like a puppet on strings, that's a problem, right? So then I'm gonna help you not get caught up in that spider web. So you're able to break those grips and address that, so you don't get caught or you don't get your arm jeopardized like I did. So it's also like teaching those lessons of what you went through, the do's and don'ts, or this is a move I have success with. A lot of guys know I like to do a lot of like chokes, head arm triangles, darts, chokes,
Yeah, you do
guillotines,
that
go
weird
go.
one from the bottom where you grab the lapel upside down and you start
Don't
pulling at that shit.
don't show everybody my moves yet. Hold on.
I've been
But
playing
no,
that at my gym now.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I have like different moves. Obviously, when I got my arm hurt, I did lose a lot of grip strength, and I had to learn new techniques on how to still be effective and throw these chokes on. And that's another one I learned from the injury that I
Hmm.
started getting better. Changing the way my hand position is because of my grip was weaker. I destroyed my not only the forearm but the muscle in my hand and a ligament in my thumb was kind
Hmm.
of banged up and I had like nerve damage and it took me a while for it to get the full recovery. So I learned a couple other tricks, a couple other moves, how to choke people. And then, things that work for me, I'm going to share how I set these things up. So I think when you compete, you're able to test drive the car, right? It's like having a sports car and we're going to put new tires and a new engine and a new muffler, but we have to race it. We have to
Hmm.
see how fast it runs, or else it's kind of obsolete to have a sports car or this muscle car if you never race it. So that's
Hmm.
when they say that term when the rubber meets the road,
Right.
and that's what jujitsu teaches us when you roll. Also, when you compete in tournaments, um, the gold medals and stuff are cool because it shows that you did something, that you applied yourself and you went out there and you competed. So I do love going after tournaments and doing medal hunting, cheating some medals and stuff. It's fun. It doesn't define my game, but it is a part of my game because I didn't compete like every freaking tournament, every single week, every
Like
month. Some
Mark
people,
does.
yeah, Mark's awesome, but yeah, Mark definitely he chased the IBJJF, and I admire him a lot for that. And that's one of the main reasons why I chose to be a part of TAC team
Hmm.
and New Breed
Hmm.
was like I want results, right? And results are measured by what? By wins. This is be straightforward, cut, cut clean, black and white. Winning or losing, the results are always going to be in winning. Now, what kind of tournaments does he does? He does mainly IBJJF, right? He's always doing IBJJF. I love it all. I love IBJJF. I do love submission only. I do love gi. I do love no
Hmm.
gi. But I missed Worlds and Chicago Open this year due to a lot of injuries and stuff. I hurt my back in like a year ago in November where I had like a bulge in my one of
I
my
remember
discs.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was bulging. I was herniated something, and then from there I had like my knee got inflamed, my
Your
elbow.
elbow, I remember your elbow was like fucking
Yeah,
huge. And
elbow
you
was
still kept rolling,
swollen.
dude.
Yeah, I'm kind of crazy, so I keep rolling when I probably should take a break, but I kept. Yeah, I took a trip to Puerto Rico to kind of get away. I probably should have stayed out there for a month, but then.
Right.
But it's one of those things where you trying to train around your injuries. I had plantar foot this summer, which hurts really bad. Plantar
Hmm.
fasciitis. Um, and I had to get that under control, and I got it corrected. So I was excited to come back, but I missed the Chicago Open, and like 2 weeks later was World's Masters,
Yeah.
and I missed both of those, and I was really bummed out because early in the year I was talking to a couple guys that I trained with and stuff, and we were talking about chasing that, going to do Masters Worlds. I haven't done that since Purple Belt, which was 2017. Was the last time I did Worlds. The only time I got to do Masters Worlds. So this year coming up, it is a goal. It is on my calendar, on my hit list. Is to do IBJJF. Is to compete in a couple IBJJF throughout the country. So it gives me a little bit of travel, which I do love. Is one of the things I love the most is traveling. And so I'm able to travel and maybe check out a couple tournaments in different states. I think
Tampa's
we're
coming
gonna
up.
do. I know it's coming up a little soon though. If I had a sponsor,
3 weeks, yeah. Yeah. I
three
don't know if I can
weeks.
help you there, but
Ah,
it is coming up, You got a
yeah, no,
place to stay. If you come here, you
that's
got a
good.
place to
That's a
stay.
start. That's a start.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm aiming for I think Atlanta
Okay.
coming up. So that's coming up Super Bowl weekend, the
Hmm.
Atlanta Open. So it's that Saturday. So Mark knows because he goes to all the time to all of them. He's like the airport's connected to the
To
to the
the
center.
convention center, right? It's right there.
Yeah, and the hotel and all that connects. So it's easy to get in, easy to get out. I do got family and friends in Atlanta,
Atlanta.
so I'm looking forward for that one. So that's like the next. I might maybe do something in between there or before that. Like they give me a super fight or there's a tournament in the area or something simple. I might jump in just to kind of keep the fire going.
Yeah.
You
There
definitely
seems
don't
to
want to
be
get too
all
much.
there seems to be always something like every other weekend. It's either
Yeah,
like what's his name?
yeah.
Dre
There's
just did the Jiu-Jitsu
yesterday.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was True
I saw
Jitsu
you on.
yesterday. What's the other one they had? Yeah, Naga was
Naga is
yesterday
here,
as
yep.
well, and then Midwest Finishers all in one day, like three things, right? So yeah, so like three tournaments went off yesterday. I couldn't make it. I had a lot of stuff going on. I was really tempted though, but I didn't go. If there's maybe now before from now till maybe December. The only thing big that's going on. Oh yeah, Pan Am's was yesterday too. So those
Oh, that
people
was
that
the
went up to the
kids.
Nogi Pan Am's.
That was kids though, right? Or
No,
no?
they had Nogi Pan Am's
Oh,
was
Nogi.
yesterday,
Okay.
and then they have the next major will be in Vegas in December is Nogi Worlds.
Hmm.
So there's a lot going on. Those are like the last ones, right?
Yeah, I think that's the
Um,
end of the year, and that was it.
yeah, and it's pretty much like almost off season right now for a lot of us. I might do one maybe before the year's up, one more. Super fights are easy because it's just one match. But when you do a tournament, you got to fight, a
Right.
bunch of
Depends
people.
on the bracket.
Depends on the bracket.
Yeah, if you do
So
worlds, I think those are like
yeah, like
30 to
March
50
Madness.
people in each one.
Yeah, it looks like March Madness, right?
It's pretty crazy, I know. Oh, now
Yeah,
you only have to win like 4 or 5 to narrow that down to a final. Because
Right,
they're doubles. So even if you have like 40 people, you only really need like 5 fights.
right.
Again, 5
Which
fights is
is,
a big deal still at a tournament level.
but then you talk about these majors like Worlds. Everybody's coming for blood. Everybody's
Oh, for
gangster.
sure,
You know,
for
nobody's
sure.
taking it lightly, and everybody's training all year for that. So those are great tournaments and stuff. That's awesome. So
So is that a different level of preparation for tournaments? Because our gym, you've been to our gym. Our gym is
yes,
is is pretty high level, but it doesn't really have a competition program like Mark does, for example.
right.
Because his Tuesdays and Thursday night comp prep classes that
Comp
are like
class
2.5 hours, man. Like I love those classes; they're
nonstop.
great. We
Yes,
just
a
don't
lot of
have it
drilling.
here, and so
Right.
when preparing for these types of kind of high level IBJJF tournaments, is there a strategy? Like, is there suggested
Yes.
course of action? Like, how should people be thinking about it?
Yes, for sure. So, like, I like to compete in all styles of tournaments and fights. So, like, I'll just compare them all right now, real quickly. I do love fight to win, but there's no
Hmm.
points, right? So I can pull guard. I can be in a bad position. I can do a lot of things.
Hmm.
It's going to go off effective aggressiveness. Who's going to get the submission? Who's going after subs, or who almost had somebody in a sub? That's usually how I fight, and how, like, naturally my instinct is to go forward and put pressure on people and attack.
Active,
Trying to
just
go
be
for the
active.
for the kill. Yeah, that's not always going to give you the W or the win in, for instance, IBJJF or ADCC.
Hmm.
So, so you would have to strategize differently, because I had a hard time. I did the Cleveland Open a couple weeks ago, and I didn't do well because everybody can pull guard really quick, and
Hmm.
then they got the sleeve and the lapel, and then all they need is an advantage or a sweep or a point, and then they're up on points, and then at Masters we only get 5 minutes, which isn't a long
5 minutes, yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and then I end up losing on points. I didn't. It was like he submitted me or put me in a bad position. Just I was behind on points trying to play catch up. So the strategy in that will be score first, and then you should be able to dictate your match. Like, because you know he's going to come back and try to get those points back.
Hmm.
So if you keep scoring on him, then you're up by so many points. All he can do is maybe sub hunt,
Yeah,
and
it's
you're able
playing
to
the rule
kind of,
set.
yeah. So there's
Yeah.
loopholes, right? ADCC was fun. I did it a year ago. Actually, I like ADCC. It was a lot of fun. It's different. I love the challenges because they're hard, right? The first half of the match, there's no freaking points.
Hmm.
It's just no points. You can get taken down. You can take him down. Doesn't matter. Halfway through the match, they start points, and then you can see the pace of the match will change, because people are trying to get to a spot, trying to get a takedown, or try to get to your back or mount or whatever, right, or past the guard to try to hurry up and score. But
Right.
like that first half, like, people will sub hunt. You
Hmm.
got to be careful, because you can lose by submission, not by points, but you can get caught. And
Hmm.
it depends on what kind of strategy you want to bring to the table. Do you want to pull guard? Do you want to be on top and wrestle? Do you want to submit them? Do you
Yeah.
want to wait for points? So, like, there's strategies in each one of those. I have an old teammate of mine, Joey Deal, awesome guy. He's a great black belt.
Oh, from
He loves
the R. What's the name of
R,
that thing?
real MMA, real martial
Yeah,
arts,
real movement, right?
real
RMMA.
movement. Yes, real,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
R, yeah, real
Yeah,
movement.
Ricky
That's
now
what it's
goes
called.
there actually.
Yeah, Ricky goes there now.
Yeah.
Joey's awesome. I've trained with him my first 4 years when I was under Jeff Curran. He's a Jeff Curran black belt. He fought MMA. He fought in Bellator. I've seen this young kid grow from when he was
Hmm.
really young in MMA till now. Now he's doing all the ADCCs. So it's
He's
incredible to
very
see
good,
this kid.
and he's small,
Oh,
man. He
he's a
was
little
he's
guy and
tiny.
he's a monster.
I showed up there
He's a
once on open mat on Sunday, and
Oh yeah.
like I could, there's like nothing I could do.
No, yeah, I feel the same way. Don't feel bad. And I'm a black belt. But no,
Yeah.
Joey's awesome, and he's such a nice guy. I'm glad he is, because he is a monster on the mat, and he's a little guy, so he goes all over and does these ADCC tournaments. And Joey loves the nogi. He
Hmm.
gets out there, he does nogi at a high level, really great. And I do go and cross train with him when I get time. Um, and it's different style and pace because it's a lot of nogi. He's using a lot of wrestling. There's leg entanglements and stuff that's different from the gi. In the
Hmm.
gi, you can't heel hook, you cannot reap. But in Nogi and ACC, you can do all those things. So it changes the game again. So I like to train pretty much like turn over every stone, you know. That's a Nogi type of comp. You have to work the Nogi stuff and the guys that are good at Nogi so I can keep learning, you know. And
Do
yeah,
people
so like
do people usually go each different way? Like if you like no-gi, you typically stick with no-gi, kind of like the 10th planet stuff you do on Sundays. And then if you're doing gi, kind of like, although Mark does both, but typically
yes.
that, new breed is mainly gi. Um,
Right. Right. Majority you're gonna get more gi classes because they're really big on IBJJF.
right.
They've been winning the last 2 years they won 8 out of 9 team trophies.
I know they're great, man. They show
So
up
they're
like as a
dominating,
group,
yeah, and also they're everywhere. They're not just in the Midwest; they're all over the country. So
right?
they come out, and so it's a different game he's playing, right? He's playing this big game of chess, not checkers. He's not worrying about his school. He's worrying about all the schools winning team trophies and stuff.
Hmm.
And it's great. It's cool to see that and be a part of it now. And I've been very fortunate to be a part of that. So yeah, it's just different, you know. Like Joey loves to do the ADCC, so he travels and gets out there. He wants me to go out there and travel with him and do some ADCC stuff. So I'm down, you know. I'm down to get out there and move around and travel.
Hmm.
Obviously, when you compete in jujitsu, it can be very pricey. It doesn't pay the bills, you know. In that sense,
You need that
you got to
sponsor.
pay. Yeah, yeah, sponsors and stuff definitely will help out. But I do want to travel a lot this year coming, and do as many type of matches, super fights,
Gi, no gi, you don't
tournaments.
care, right?
You know, I don't care. I like it all. I even like MMA training. I've
Hmm.
trained with a lot of fighters in MMA. We put on the puffies, the little gloves.
You can name
Um,
drop. Go ahead and name drop. It's all right.
no, I've worked with woof. Well, I started with
Jul-
Jeff Curran.
yeah, Juliana
So with
Pena.
Jeff, yeah, Juliana Penny came later. When I went to LZZT, we worked a lot. She got the belt again, which is great. Worked with her. I've worked with like Ricardo Lamas that was in the
Hmm.
UFC. The bully. He's nice. He's really tough. Pat Curran, that was a Bellator champion.
Hmm.
Um, I like this guy now. I haven't seen him. I have been seeing him a lot lately at 10th Planet in Lombard. He's been showing his face. He has a fight coming up this weekend. Chuck Buffalo. Look out
Hmm.
for him this weekend. Charlie Radke. He's fighting this weekend on the 16th on the
Hmm.
UFC. So I got
Okay.
to train. We used to train at Jeff Curran's way back, and I got to run into him now at um at 10th Planet.
10 Planet.
So I got
Yeah.
to roll with him. We do a couple rounds and stuff, and it's different. MMA Jiu-Jitsu for MMA is gonna be way different than Nogi or than Gi or any of that. It's gonna be way
Yeah.
different because you're dealing with punches. You're dealing with ground and pound. You most likely want to be on top, so you do want to work wrestling to get the takedown and also to land on the top, you know, and stay on top. And
Yeah.
that's gonna get in wall wrestling, like going up against a wall and learning how to get up, wall walk, or also learning how to do takedowns
Cutting
or defend
angles and yeah.
takedowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, when your back's against the wall,
Yeah, it's
that's
a
a
whole
lot of
different
fun
game.
too.
It's weird because,
Right.
jiu-jitsu gets a bad rep because of sports jiu-jitsu and, like we talked,
But then
playing
it gets a
the
good rep when it's MMA jiu-jitsu,
correct.
right?
It's like playing the tournament circuit and the point system and all that, and you're like, dude, these fuckers just
Yeah.
sit down. You're like, what kind of a
Yeah.
sport is this, you know? But then you get
Yeah.
the MMA side and the self-defense side, which is actually a lot of ways people come into jiu-jitsu. That some people come through sports side and some people come through the self-defense side, and it's a
Right.
completely two different sports almost.
Yeah. Oh, 100% way different. Even when I would say all three from gi to no gi are different because you could do the leg locks
Right.
in no gi where they're legal. In gi, you can't as much because they're illegal, reaping and heel hooking. And then also, then when you add punches,
Right.
it changes the way you're going to approach. You're not going to pull deep half in a fist fight.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
You're
Like
gonna get
Damian
elbowed.
Maya got away with it because he's very good and he gets out of there fast, but you don't want to hang out down there for long when
No.
someone's just beating your brains in. You know, it doesn't take much. So it's hard to go for leg locks in a fist fight.
Yeah.
So
It's
I,
all top level half guard, as I've witnessed in UFC.
yeah, oh yeah. And like if you're on top in the half guard, you can pretty much dominate and win a fight right there. Which in jiu-jitsu is, top and half guard. You have only a few moves you can do to finish the opponent, right?
Right.
So also, like, even when I teach, I do want to, like, I always go back to the old school, like, self-defense aspect of it. Um, and that's something that Hickson does talk about to this day, is the self-defense part of jujitsu. Of, like, if it was to get to a street fight,
Hmm.
like right now, you come back and forth to Chicago. Um, we're in November now, and it's I'm wearing hoodies and long sleeves. That's your gi. People are like, oh, jiu-jitsu is not practical. It very much is practical. And so we do work. I do like to teach a lot of self-defense, even for the kids in my kids class, and adults and women, all walks of life. Not everybody's gonna be a want to get out there and compete and go after medals. Some people just want to do this to feel empowered, to have self-defense to back them up. So I'm not going to be showing people like Baron Bolos in your first week at school, is obsolete when you can get your head kicked in.
Right.
We got to learn basic moves, takedowns,
Grips, breaking
grips
grips
and
and all that.
stuff. Correct. How to avoid from getting punched when you're on the bottom. How to protect yourself in the closed guard. Things like that. And that's where jujitsu just kind of takes off. It goes into this big circle, right? And I have this thing written down somewhere. It's like a chart, and I write notes a lot. And at the very top pinnacle is the old school Vale Tudo, street fighting, inagi, eye gouging. I can bite you, I can do whatever, right? That is self defense. That's what the samurais did. That's how
Hmm.
we got jujitsu. That's what the Brazilians did when they're fighting in the streets. After that, it turns to like MMA. You had some rules.
Hmm.
After that, it turns into IBJJF or whatever, right?
Sports.
ADCC, sport jiu-jitsu, right? Gi, no
Right.
gi, etc. Then it comes back around the clock when they started adding slapping, combat
Mm.
jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Now it's coming back towards the self-defense. So it always, when you start adding, oh no, when you start taking out rules, it becomes more violent,
Layers of
less
complexity.
sport,
Absolutely.
more dangerous, right? When you add rules, it becomes more friendly, not so violent. You're less likely to get injured because you're adding so many rules. You're protecting the athletes, right? So
Right.
it's they're both needed. They're both needed for sure. And you would have to understand. This is probably why I like all of it, because you can master. There's guys that are awesome in the gi. There's guys that are awesome in no gi. There's guys that are awesome in MMA. But if you're awesome at all of it, man, that's a lot of homework. That's a lot, and that's why I don't stop teaching or training or working with different styles of fighting, because all of it's very useful depending on what you want to do. And this is why I like to compete in so many different styles, because it keeps the brain open and awake to like new strategies and new moves
Right.
that are coming in every day. There's always stuff that's popping in, and it's amazing when you start seeing some of these moves work. For instance, like if you see a move work in competition jiu-jitsu, like in gi or no gi, then all of a sudden you see it worked in a cage. You're like,
Hmm.
okay, that thing works in every avenue,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah,
So
and
that's
it's
where it's
almost
going.
that's right. That's right. And it's almost like when I used to come to your place, that's what I liked the most out of it, because it was fundamentals done at a very high level. Like there wasn't any bolos, there wasn't any like crazy leg lock shit. There
Right,
wasn't anything fancy. It was all just sort of bare bones, traditional defense style jiu-jitsu, but like so well done that was very effective. That's what I liked
right.
about your
So
style, because you're not a big guy, you're also a smaller guy, and so as a smaller
right,
individual, it just was sort of it was kind of eye opening, because to some
yeah,
degree everybody wants to skip the fundamentals and get to the cool stuff.
yeah. They
Yeah,
want to do
and
all the
and
fancy
yeah,
stuff.
and what I saw at your place is like, no man, like if you go back to the fundamentals and just do them very well, you will basically have the same level of success.
For sure. And I was taught early on the basics. Everything goes back to the basics, and but learning the basics you know, starting off and kind of pounding the basics in, right, with all my instructors. Um, it gave me such a good foundation where that I can survive and live off the basics, whether it's offense, whether it's defense, in any scenario. So like if you look at percentages, right? Um, what are the highest percentages in finishes in MMA, in ADCC, and in IBJJF?
RNC
Like which
probably
moves? That's probably the number one.
number one. Yeah.
Or yeah, because when you get to someone's back, they can't hurt you. Maybe very little. They may catch a little sneaky footlock or armbar or something. You know what I'm saying? If you let
Mm-hmm.
them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in a fist fight, in MMA, in ADCC, in Gi, someone has your back, man. You're in a bad place, you
Right.
know. And it's you go for the choke, and the fight's over, you know. And we've seen that move from Hickson. I think Hickson only did two moves his whole career: armbar and rear naked choke. I
And
don't
those
think
are the
I ever
top
seen him
two.
do anything else.
They're the
Yeah,
top two.
yeah. So the percentages, game of percentages. What is the most highest percent? You throw a rear naked choke on somebody, doesn't matter how big or small you are, you're in a good position where you shouldn't get caught. You should be able to catch them.
Right.
And it just goes back to the basics, you know. I watched a lot of Michael Jordan. Uh, he only did when Jordan started winning championships. He didn't need 1,000 moves.
Just a fadeaway.
The fadeaway, he would back you down with a fadeaway. You didn't know, you knew he was going to shoot it. You just didn't know when and what shoulders he's spinning to the left, to the right.
Right.
And if they send a double team, he can still shoot it in time and out jump the double team or fade to one direction away from the double team and still be at a high percentage of scoring.
Right.
And you know, the basics, you know, you going back to one move, one, two moves, and sometimes that's all you really need, you know, and changes the game,
Does it
you
get
know. And
boring?
I mean, it can if you don't do enough, if you're not training,
Right.
you know, but when you're always training, you're always mixing it up with new partners or just trying things, you shouldn't be bored, you know. Also, like, if you think about this, there's never two fights that are exactly the same. So,
Right.
for instance, if you watch an MMA fight or a boxing match, and we can watch part one, we can watch part two, part three, like rematches, right? They're never the same.
Never the same.
So when
Right.
you roll with your training partner over and over again, you guys never move in the exact same direction, the same time, and all that, and do the same exact stuff. Now you might come up with the same outcome, with one guy always getting tapped, you know, or one guy keeps landing his one move because he's so good at it. But as far as overall, no two fights are ever exactly the same. People are
Right.
gonna zig and zag in different times, different directions.
Adapt. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're gonna try things, and it's, you know, training for sure. I would say when you train, have fun, be open minded. You know, put yourself in bad positions so you understand, have a better understanding. You know, versus trying to force everything. You know, and then you get frustrated because you're trying to force this one move you maybe saw on YouTube or something, and it's not working. And you know, it might work on some people, but not going to work on everybody. So you know, there's different methods to not being bored. You
Right.
know, and I learned that obviously later when I became a black belt, when I had my own school, when I started teaching, and I had a bunch of white belts around me and maybe a few blue belts. I had to teach them at a crash course to get them good. Like very well rounded, good from everywhere, offensively and defensively, but also showing them how to stop my moves, like showing them some of the moves I apply and how to stop it, how to not let me get it off on you so easy. So I cannot just go to my same move over and over. Now you're deflecting and you're stopping. I got to think of something else now, or I got
Yeah.
to find another way to get it out. So then I start making my teammates better. Then my teammates are making me better.
Yeah. I like that strategy actually. Every time I
Yeah.
roll with you, you're like, all right, you're losing this. Let's figure this shit out. And then so we stay and we
Okay.
figured that out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So a lot of my instructors before me would do the same to me. You know, break these little things down. So when I got taught this, now when I train with someone else of a lower belt, you know, I can help them in the same fashion. People was passed to me in the same way. Now I pass it back.
Yeah.
And I
Now
think a lot of this is to pay forward, you know. martial arts in general is one of those things we learn. We're heroing for so long a time, and then we pass it forward to the next generation, to kids, and so on and so forth. Because if you think about it, these gis and belts tradition has been around for, I don't know, hundreds and thousands of years or whatever before our time,
Hmm.
and it's still here. So we get a hold of it, we learn it, we discover it. We didn't invent anything; we just discover these moves, and then we pay it forward to the next generation and keep it alive and going.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it fun. I think maybe why I'm so passionate about teaching. Yeah, competing and stuff is fun too, and training, but also just teaching it because I know, um, there's more out there. There's more potential out here, and these kids, give them something to do to look forward. I know if when I was young, I saw Hoist Gracie. I was the first UFC. I was a young kid. I was really young. And we rented the videos from Blockbuster. We didn't know what it was. We knew it was real fighting, though. We knew it wasn't WWF.
Right. It was
We knew
different.
they were really, yeah, they were trying to
Yeah.
kill each other. And then I saw the little guy winning without throwing a punch, but with just doing submissions. And I was like, okay, I want to learn that because
That's
that's
when you
real.
started.
Well, I mean, we thought we were starting. Me and my brother were like roll on the carpet and give
Hmm.
each other rug burn and like twist each other's arms until we tapped, choke each other. Couldn't figure out the triangle, but whatever. And then we would go to like we would rent the video and like put in slow motion
And figure that.
and
Yeah.
rewind it
Try
and
to
try to
replicate it.
figure out
That's funny.
yes arm bars and chokes. So we got pretty decently far, but we didn't know what the hell we were doing yet. And until like later on, we're talking about pre Google, pre
Hmm.
internet, where the
Right.
internet wasn't. It was dial up and stuff, AOL. But like you couldn't find school. You couldn't just type it in your phone and pull up a jiu-jitsu academy. So if I was a kid and I had the opportunity to train at a very young age, of course I would have jumped on it. And
When
who
did you
knows where I
start?
would have been. Well, I started late. I was like 28, I think, when I started.
That's not late. Get out of here. I started when I was fucking 40. That's late. And then people say, no, that's not late. I started when I was 50. So it's like, it's all relative.
Well, late in the sense of that I did do like I did other sports and stuff before that. So I did do boxing
Hmm.
for a while before that. Trained with a buddy of mine that was a Golden Gloves champion. And then the following year, he went back to the Golden Gloves and came up short. Like he was like the runner up. He made it to the finals. And I remember sparring with him and like getting my bell rang. And I was like, okay, I can't be taking this kind of punishment.
Yeah,
This
it's hard.
isn't
Boxing
healthy.
is,
Boxing is very hard.
yeah.
Getting hit like that repeatedly, you can't train like you train jujitsu.
No, no.
You can work mitts and hit the bag,
But
but you
sparring is a
cannot be
problem. Right.
sparring. You cannot spar every day like that, like you do in jiu-jitsu. In jiu-jitsu, we can go pretty hard and intense, but in boxing, you really can't. You can, but you can only do that once in a while until
No,
someone
you
gets
get
hurt.
rocked. Because I did boxing too for a
Yeah,
little bit. And it's
yeah,
like, that's why I got into jiu-jitsu. As soon as I got more into jiu-jitsu, I was like, that's all I'm doing. Because I
yeah,
like the sparring aspect, but I'm not getting hit in the head. So I'm like, I'm just staying here.
right. And I'm over here not getting paid, and this guy's over here doing Golden Gloves. I'm not even doing Golden Gloves, and I'm over here
Right.
getting my bell ring.
You're the
So
punching bag.
I realized it wasn't a smart to stay doing that and getting hit, which I love boxing. Boxing, I have a passion. I love boxing. But to train boxing at that level, it takes a lot. You
Yeah.
gotta really think. You gotta really try to go somewhere with it. And you at my age, and I really didn't care to do Golden Gloves or any of that. I wasn't really, you know, maybe if I was younger and jumped on boxing earlier, who knows, right? But I realized I did love martial arts. I did other styles, trained with different people
Hmm.
in other styles of martial arts. One of my buddies that trained in his garage, he was like a black belt in Taekwondo. He won state in wrestling. He did a lot of crazy stuff. He's also a black belt now in jiu-jitsu. He's one of the guys that got me into it. His
Hmm.
name is Matt Ortiz. He's a good dude. Um, we would work out in his garage like, oof, this was a long time ago. And we would put the boxing gloves on. We were throwing, we were doing kicks from like Taekwondo, kicking really high. We were wrestling in the grass, doing submissions and
This is
like
like
flipping each
MMA.
other. Yeah, we were mixing it up. And then, shortly after he jumped into jujitsu, I didn't really know he was doing jujitsu like that at that level and doing MMA. And he did a cage fight. And I was like, he brought me out. And I went to go to his cage fight. He came up short. He lost. but it was cool. Everybody that was there supporting him. Um, his instructor was Jeff Curran,
Hmm.
and I got to meet Jeff Curran. I'm like, okay, this guy just fought Uriah Faber and came up short, but this guy's pretty popular. I used to see him on WEC, and I didn't know he trained in the gi, like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu style, because he was
Hmm.
under Pedro Sauer. I didn't know the detail. It is a Gracie fighter, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighter. I didn't know that he worked and teached and taught and trained in the gi a lot. I thought when you did MMA, you just put the gloves on and
It's like
no
wrestling,
shirt, whatever.
right?
Right. I didn't know that they did that in
Hmm.
MMA like that. I didn't know because I was never in an MMA gym. And plus, back then there was no social media like it is now, where you can see
Right.
things. And when I found out that he was doing like real jujitsu, Gracie jujitsu with the belt and everything in the gi, I was like, oh shoot, this is what I wanted to do. And that's when I started with Jeff Curran. It was pretty cool because like he wanted me to do a haircut on his head, like his whole entire head. So he had me do a practice run in his office at his gym. At the time, he had this huge gym. It was one of the top 20 best gyms in the world, I think, at the time. And so I'm like mesmerized of this place. This place is huge. They had a full workout center. They had like two boxing rings, a
Hmm.
cage. They had a big wrestling room. They had a whole other dojo, big old room with all matted out. The place was enormous. They had dorms where fighters can stay there. And I was like, wow, this dude is I think it was on the Tap Out show. They had a Tap Out reality TV show where they would
Hmm.
travel. And I think they came out and they saw this guy named Sunshine, Matt. His name is Sunshine. They caught him, and I think they caught Pat Curran too. Before Pat Curran got popular and blew up, became champion. And I remember vividly some of this stuff. And it was in Crystal Lake, which isn't too far from where I'm from, Elgin. So I went out there, I did the haircut, and he loved it. He flew me out to Vegas
You were
for
a
his
barber
fight
back
with.
then?
Oh, I've been a
Still?
barber for a very long time.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So
Longer than a black belt? Longer than jujitsu?
yeah, I'm like a red belt in barbering or something. I think I don't know.
Coral barber.
I'm probably on my seventh stripe or something. But
That's awesome.
he's Jeff. Jeff was awesome. He flew me out there. He fought Mizugaki in WEC. Uh, it was such an experience being there, meeting everybody, meeting Helson Gracie, which is an intimidating guy if you ever meet him. Super cool, intense guy. Um, and I'm like, man, these guys are plugged, like with the Gracie family, like. And I got to meet Pedro Sauer and talk to him, and he inspired me, blew my mind. The dude's awesome.
Hmm.
Um, with him is what you see is what you get. He's the
Oh
same
yeah.
guy ever since I first met him. Over 15 years ago, I met him, and he's the same guy. And he still like sees me, says what's up. He
Hmm.
still remembers me. I'm like, oh shoot, you know. But it was cool, that experience, and to see the impact jiu-jitsu has in MMA, and then seeing all these fighters from all over in MMA as well. And I've always been a fan of like boxing MMA. So it was really cool and inspiring. And when we came back from that trip, I signed up right away. I didn't think twice. I put the gi on and I was just there, you know, and it was great. It was awesome. I got my blue belt from Jeff Curran. It was a great time, great experience. Seeing a MMA gym from the inside out is totally different from the outside in.
Oh yeah.
Meeting them, realizing they're human like us. Hanging out with them, even cutting their hair, being their friends, things like that. It was obviously probably one of the best decisions I made in my life. Going in that direction. And martial arts is cool because it takes you places. You meet people from all over the world.
Yeah.
It's definitely a really good blessing. Overall. So
It's a good
it
community.
was yeah, it's a great community, and I'm still invested, as I would say, and all in on as far as like I still train. I still do what I can to train and teach. Um, in the near future, I'm looking in some properties here to reopen my own gym because before I was subleased under someone else, the owners. So if something went wrong with them, which happened twice, that I was unfortunately had to close down. And
Yeah,
now I want to
the
do the
roller
under.
skating rink, or not the skating ring,
Oh, the skateboard place, yeah,
skateboard.
the
So
indoor
first of
skate
all,
park.
did one close down too?
Yes, yes. One got
Okay,
shut down.
okay, because
They
they were pretty busy. I mean, there's always people there.
yeah, there was always people there. Um, the landlord and him, I don't know what really happened, but I know the landlord wouldn't let him re-sign the lease. So he was
Mm,
month to month, and it was on the market.
okay,
And I saw that I was on the market. People showed it to me, so it was on the market for a few months. So I talked to the property manager. They said that they're well aware that if it shut down, that if someone else was to rent it, that the place would have to shut down in like a month.
so you
So I
basically
was
left.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, I had to leave. I left before they got shut down. And when I left, I went to a skate park. The skate park had this really nice big room.
that was nice. That was
And
that was a perfect location because it was like right
oh
up
my
front.
goodness, a
Yeah,
lot of traffic, a lot of eyes. Too good to be true, unfortunately, And something happened with that owner and a breach of contract. I think something happened illegally with, they had some sort of business running out of there that was not with the recreational of like use of a
right.
park, of a gym, and they terminated his contract.
Yeah, they closed
And I
overnight.
was,
Yeah, you're like you came in and
it
like
happened so
there's the
quick.
lock on the door.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy.
And then yeah, so then that was a bummer earlier this year that went under. But yeah, now I'm looking for my own thing right now, and hopefully in a matter of weeks I get started back up, start up Samurai Spirit Jiu-Jitsu again. So yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed and
Yeah, it's a long journey.
let's, yeah, yeah. But I feel destined for this. I feel like this is my calling in life. This is what I'm here for. This definitely brings a lot of happiness to me when I'm
Yeah,
on the mat and teach.
I can see
My
that.
kids, I missed the kids class. I don't have any kids of my own, and I realize once you have the kids class going and they look up to you like a superhero, and then they're all heartbroken that there's no gym. And then I ran into them recently, and they're asking me when you gonna open up again. I'm like, oh, I feel awful,
Yeah, it's
like
rewarding having
Santa
them on
didn't.
there for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, I feel like Santa Claus didn't come this year.
Yeah,
So it's now it's kind of like falls on my back, like the pressure, which I think it's good. Peter's making me rise to the occasion, making me get up and get everything together and start this journey back up again,
yeah, that's good to
and
hear.
come back to my town and reopen again and do my job, serve servitude, serve my community.
Yeah,
And that's
man.
what samurais stand for, is to serve. A lot of people don't understand why I called it Samurai Spirit Jiu-Jitsu. A couple
You
reasons.
you literally stole the question right out of my mouth because I was gonna ask the next thing is like why Samurai Spirit?
Okay, two reasons, right? Mainly. Um, and it came back to me over time. Uh, Samurai stands for like serving your community. Samurais back in feudal Japan used to be like the police department, like the fire department. Like they would serve the community, they would help people.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's something we do when we teach martial arts. We do serve our community. We help the kids. We help adults. We're helping them teach, self defense and stuff like that, right? And you build character. You build kids up, build people up. And I've seen it firsthand. Um, the other one, it kept coming to me. I read the book Breathe by Hickson Gracie,
What'd you think of the
and
book?
I thought it was phenomenal and amazing because I heard a lot of these stories from multiple sources.
Hmm.
From some of my old instructor, Luis Claudio, he has a lot of Hickson stories. His brother, Chiago, has a lot of stories about Hickson. And then also when I did the seminars with Hickson, Hickson told those stories
Mm.
before the book was even written. So I'm hearing it from the horse's mouth. So I was like, all right, this is awesome because I've heard a lot of these stories. And this is pretty much like clarification that this is like fact checking, like this is real.
Hmm.
A lot of these things happen. So I love the honesty
Mm.
of it, right? Um, Also, he does touch and speak upon like in I think after he fought in Pride and was retiring from Pride, the head of the owner of Pride, which was like a Yakuza
Mm-hmm.
mafia guy, whatever, took him and his family all out to dinner to have sushi and stuff at like one of the finest sushi bars in or sushi restaurants in Japan or in Tokyo at the time. And they picked him up in a limousine and all that. And when he went and sat down to have dinner, they gave Hickson a gift.
Mm-hmm.
The gift was an old katana that's from their museum. And I guess in Japan, you cannot remove any artifacts or anything of like historical
Mm-hmm.
items from the island or from the land of Japan. But they handed him this old katana that's probably worth over $1 million or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave him as a token of their appreciation of Hickson because they said that, you know, not only of him winning and stuff like that is how he carried himself. They said he embodied the samurai spirit.
Mm-hmm.
They said that often in his book. And I think that's a huge honor if someone says that to you. Because that's something money cannot buy. If someone
Right.
wants to tell you that, especially from the land of the rising sun, you know, like these are the actual, you know, Japanese homegrown and you're under land or turf and you are
Yeah.
using their method and their style of fighting, but also you're carrying yourself, you're conducting yourself as a gentleman, as a good person. And they appreciated you and you're not even Japanese. You know, who's done that? Who's ever
Mm-hmm.
done that? Took it to that level, you know, of respect, of honor. And I felt like I think we all try to chase that one way, shape, or form. You know, not maybe exact those words, but I think we try to embrace something or embody something like a better spirit within ourselves because we do things daily to better ourselves, right? Uh, Training jujitsu, going weight training, working
Right.
out, going to church, whatever the case is. We always try to better ourselves,
Being a better human, absolutely.
being a better human. Correct.
Integrity, things like that.
Yes. So the integrity, things like that. And I think that's part of it. And I think it just has more meaning to have something to stand for,
Hmm.
you know, to be proud of yourself and be proud of what you're doing, you know, all the way. Because, like, the triangle in jujitsu, since the Gracie stood for mind, body, and spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to get back to that, you know, conditioning everything, not just how you think, not just how you are physically, also on how you are spiritually from within. You know, if you are a kind person, if you are a good person through and through, and it's not easy. We're
Oh,
we're, we're
absolutely.
fighting we're fighting these things every day. Our thoughts, our actions. You know.
Oh, I think that
What?
mindset transcends not just the Gracies, because in Christianity there's also the Trinity and things like
Yes.
that. It's the
Yes.
same mindset, the mind, body, and the spirit, or the Father, the Son, and the
Yes.
Spirit, and
Correct. And
it's becoming a better human being across all the disciplines that you're kind of involved in.
correct. Yeah, and like obviously, I didn't want to. I didn't want to name it after my name or myself. Have my name on it because this is bigger than my name than me. You
Hmm.
know, like I feel like I'm just a vessel for now, and I'm sure I have these students that are pretty good at a really young age. I'm sure they're going to surpass me. I want them to. I want them to
Hmm.
be better than me and have their own thing, or they can take the name and start their own thing. I don't care. I don't want to. I don't want my name attached to something because I'm not the end all be all. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like that guy. You know. Um, it's one of those things where like you want to be humble in the sense of I don't want my name on everything. You know what I'm saying?
I
And I
do.
wanted that to bring more purpose and to the individual who puts on the gi or puts on the t-shirt or whatever, you know, put the patch on. It's a bigger than me. It's bigger than us. This is the unity. This is the whole thing, a whole um, way of thinking, way of living, and serving a better purpose.
Yeah.
You know,
Completely understand.
so yeah, so I chose that, and it just it fits. It's well. A lot of my friends that are black belts actually said that that was a good name for it as well when I did it. So
I thought it was a good name. I
yeah.
think there's a lot of play with the artwork and the branding you can do. You're slowly turning into a
I could
samurai
change the
yourself with all the
artwork too,
tattoos.
though. Yeah, no, I could change the artwork too. I was thinking about something similar, maybe changing a little bit. A lot of logos get changed over time
It's all
to
right.
simplify it.
As long as the
Maybe.
idea is there, as long as the essence
I mean,
stays true.
the Ani mask is gonna stay regardless. Um, Also, the Ani mask, I got it tatted on my hand, obviously. Where I long story, but when samurais went to battle, they wore the armor and they would wear the mask to intimidate their foes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you put the gi on, you know what time is it, right? When you put your rash guard and shorts on, you know what time is it. That's kind of like putting the mask on, the
Yeah.
armor. The samurai going to battle, and you know, eventually the mask does come off, right? And the armor does come off. We do go back to our normal lives too. But I think we all have a side to us, a dark side, I would say. I'm not trying to use that as no pun intended. Hold on, let me paraphrase all that. We all have a side which there's fight or flight in a lot of us, right? Especially if you train jujitsu, there's going to be more fight than flight.
Yeah, but you need
You
both.
know,
Depends
you
on the
need both.
situation. Yeah.
Depends on the situation. But also, it's kind of showing like we're here to like for this to fight to stand our ground to hold it down.
Right.
You know, and it's more of a combative mentality. We're gonna get ready, go to war. You just want to kind of go traditional, go to like I don't know, feudal Japanish.
It's all right. I look.
But it
It's
was a
got it.
tattoo, and my tattoo artist was like, "Baby, he wanted me to." As he was doing my sleeve, he wanted me to put the logo. It wasn't even the logo yet. I had this picked out before. I had the tattoo before I had the logo, and
Mm-hmm.
he was always telling me to put the logo on your arm, on your armor, because I have Japanese armor.
Mm-hmm.
So as time went on, I'm like, how about I just make this Ani mask the logo? And a lot of people like
I like it. I
the
I think
imagery.
it's
I
got
kind of
right
wanted
imagery.
something to look cool too. I didn't want something like silly looking or something. I kind of wanted something to look kind of stand out, a little cool, a little intimidating, if that makes any sense.
It does.
You kind of want to look in there and go walk into the place looking like Cobra Kai, you know.
Right. No rainbow flags. Samurai mask.
You said that, not me.
Hey, bro. Sounds like we're in agreement.
Yeah, for sure. But no, it's I think it looks okay, pretty cool. I wanted something fun. A lot of people like the logo. A lot of people just want my T-shirts and
Yeah.
hoodies and stuff. Like, hey, where can I get that at? And so that's another reason why I want to get the school going, so I can get some merch out there and get the patches and stuff, get it on the keys and all that. So
Well,
yeah,
you're
I want to be different. I want to be set apart from everyone else around me, and do my own thing in a way. Be authentic. I think that's
yeah.
good. I
I
think
think
we
you have
need
a
that
good thing going. I
for
again,
sure.
I've been to your place multiple times. I've rolled with you, a bunch of
A lot of
times and
times, yeah,
a
yeah, you
lot of
came a
times,
lot.
and you got it going. So
Yeah,
your
well,
mouth to God's ears, as they say.
thank you. Appreciate that for sure.
I don't think I have anything else, man. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, yeah, we've been on here for a while. Yeah, talk your ear off for sure.
Good shit. Well, thank you,
Yeah,
Donnie. It's been a pleasure.
thank you guys for sure. Appreciate you. All
I'll see you back in Chicago, buddy.
right, see you guys. Os.
All right, holla.